With Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled on the way to its 3-year anniversary, I kind of wanted to do a list of the best and worst tracks in the game, so that's what we're going to be doing today. The list is primarily based off of a few different things in the game, and I'm going to try to be as objective as humanly possible. This isn't a personal favorites list. I'm generally going to try and put this list together as best as I possibly can. So in the end, I think it is absolutely perfect, and if you disagree, then you're just wrong and you should leave. Anyways, these are the things that we're going to be looking for in this ranking. Number 1, how good is the track itemless? Oh! Number 2, how good is the track with items? Ew! Number 3, we're going to be looking at time trials. Number 4, we're going to see if the track is broken or messy, and if so, how broken and messy. And number 5, we're looking for influence and what kind of influence the track had on the community itself. We're also looking for extra modes, such as Ring Rally and Relic Race and CTR Challenge, but we're not going to be diving into that quite as much as the first 5, just because I don't think that those extra modes are really as big of a deal as the first 5, so they're just going to be a slight bonus. They'll barely influence the list whatsoever. Anyway, let's get started with number 39. God, this is going to take forever. At number 39, we have Koala Carnival. Yeah, I know, everybody thought this was going to be near the top of the list. Yeah, I know, surprise, surprise. Anyway, Koala Carnival is a Beanox original track. It was released with the Neon Circus Grand Prix. So, why is Koala Carnival at the bottom of the list? Well, let's look at a few things. It's carnival themed. Okay, fine. The track has blue fire. Okay. There are several glitches around the map. Okay, that's not very good. Okay, what's the track like? It's literally a circle. The track is literally a circle. This is what they thought of whenever they thought of making Koala Carnival. How do you make a track this broken? And it's a circle!
Oh, wow! So beautiful! No words!
They didn't need to add blue fire to this track. This track would have been totally fine without it. I think they just added it because they said, this track's not very good, let's just add blue fire, hope people will have fun with it. The track is an absolute mess. How do you make a track with this many glitches and make a track this broken? And this isn't even my least favorite track in the game. It's just so poorly made that I can't help but put it at the 39 spot. There are several people that dislike this track, and I don't blame them one bit. God, this is a disaster. For number 38, we have Tiger Temple. Tiger Temple is easily one of the most forgettable tracks in the original CTR. The track just doesn't have much going for it. Most of the stuff in the track is more annoying than it is actually good. The long grass cut, the glitchy shortcut door that sometimes doesn't want to work for some weird reason, and of course the inside of the temple with random bits of fire, which wouldn't be so annoying if the path wasn't so skinny. Yeah, I'd say this is deserving of the number 38 spot. At number 37, we have Dingo Canyon. I really want to like this track more because I like the overall theme and visuals of the track. Everything from the diner to the train to the annoying armadillos that get in the way 24/7. The problems with Dingo is, one, obviously, the armadillos. Yes, I understand some tracks just have to have moving hazards, but did they seriously have to change the color of these things to blend in perfectly with the roads? In the original CTR, the armadillos were almost entirely blue, and they were so easy to spot and avoid. In this, you can't see them unless you're right up next to them. Second, why does the canyon part always seem to slow you down at random times? It's so inconsistent and so annoying. There's plenty of times to go through the part with zero issues, but when it happens, it's so annoying. Third, why on lap 3 does the final lap have to get in the way of the starting shortcut? I know I'm not the only one who's had this issue. It's so annoying. You can't see, the letters are so big. Other than the canyon bit, I love the feel of Dingo. I think it feels nice. The atmosphere as well is also, as I said earlier, it's great. But every time I play Dingo, I cannot help but only think of negative things about the track, and that's why it's right here on the list. The next track up is actually liked by a few people, and I kind of understand if you're not going to like this placement, but unfortunately, due to the quality of the track, it has to be placed here at number 36. That track being Out of Time, which I actually enjoy as well, but this is one of the worst quality tracks in the game. It's got so many issues, and it just feels so bare. It honestly feels like the developers just rushed straight through this track whenever they made it. I guess you could say they were running out of time. What I like about the track is it's kind of challenging, I guess. That's all I got. Things I dislike about the track is the reserves are terrible, and there's only 2 boost pads. One at the start, which you sometimes miss online because the ramp can glitch and go to the wrong side whenever someone hits the box. The other one being a blue fire pad at the end of the track. So if the glitch does happen, you'll have to wait to the very end of the track until you get fire. Where are the giant green worms from the original Out of Time? Did they not have time to put those in either? I'm honestly convinced that this track was actually rushed in development. It's just a poorly made track, and I actually understand if you don't like this placement. I do think time trialing track is the best way to go about Out of Time. Definitely don't play this online. This is absolutely cancer for online. Ring Rally's not bad for this either, but the windmill is kind of what ruins it. At number 35, we have Nina's Nightmare. Although I absolutely cannot stand this track, and I hate it with a burning passion. I do think I hate on it a little bit too much, and I do think it's better than at least a couple of the tracks in the game. I just think that overall, tracks like Dingo and Out of Time aren't quite as good as Nina's when it comes to things like items and maybe even time trial, really. In itemless, I think Nina's is absolute garbage because whoever starts in 4th place pretty much has the win right off the bat because they have the grass right next to them. The obstacles on this map are just kind of there. They don't really make the track better or worse, except for maybe the spider pumpkin. The fence jump is absolute cancer. I love it when I go to jump and instead the game thinks I'm drifting because, yeah, that doesn't really end well. Also, why does this track need a blue fire pad? Like, don't get me wrong, I like blue fire, but one, I don't care for it on tracks that don't need it. I feel like this and Koala Carnival, as well as a few other tracks in the game, Beanox just added blue fire on the track to try and compensate for the quality. Like, yeah, I like blue fire, but I want a good track first, and if you want to add blue fire, then add blue fire. I think they're just hoping that people like the track more just because of the blue fire, and I guess I don't really care for that. 2, if you're going to have blue fire, please have more than one pad, because if you get blue fire and get hit by an item immediately after, your race is pretty much over. Overall, this is one of my least favorite tracks in the game, but I do not think it's the worst track in the game. I do think it's better than at least a few of the other tracks. At number 34, we have Dragon Mines, which I'm only putting here because the time trial on this track is actually fun. Everything else about this track is honestly, when it comes to online play, this might be the worst track in the game. Even the ring rally for this track is absolutely garbage. Before you tell me I'm bad at this track, I don't know what I'm doing, I don't know what I'm talking about, I am a certified MLG Xbox world record holder for this ring rally. I honestly do like the time trial for this track, as it's a nice challenge and the pace for it's actually kind of nice, but that is literally the only thing that track has going for it. Itemless online is so bad. Don't bring up Dragon Mines and items in the same sentence. I do want to point out that the visuals on this track are kind of nice, and the music, I've always loved Dragon Mines music. It fits absolutely perfectly. I would definitely put this track higher, but the mine carts have got to be changed somehow. Not necessarily removed, but in some way they need to be changed for sure to make sure that the track improves. But with how it is now, I can't put it any higher than it is. Number 33, we have Blizzard Bluff. And I've heard a few people say that this is their least favorite track in the game. And I can kind of understand a little bit why, but at the same time, I also think this track gets a little bit too much hate. The boulder is the main problem with this track. I think that is primarily the issue. The shortcuts aren't that bad. Once you figure out how to take them consistently, they're not that bad. While I do see the issues that Blizzard has, I actually kind of like it. Personally, for me, I just think the track's a little bit too short. I think this track needs more added to it. I just think with all the shortcuts, I'm pretty sure there's 3 shortcuts. There's the starting shortcut, the lake shortcut, and the fence shortcut at the end, which 3 shortcuts on a track that is short is kind of ridiculous. I wish that the track was a bit longer, honestly. The next track on the list is number 32, and I absolutely freaking despise this track, and it is Meteor Gorge. Okay, so before I get into this track, on paper, I do agree that this track looks fun, it sounds fun, and I think the layout of it is nice. However, the snow jumps, and honestly, just the jumps on the map in general, are absolute garbage. Whether it's the snow jumps or just the normal ramp jumps at the end or at the beginning of the map. Also, this track online is an absolute nightmare, regardless what mode you're playing. If you're playing itemless, you're going to get bumped from the get-go, especially if you're starting on the left side. And if you're playing items, catching up is an absolute joke. I want to like Meteor Gorge more, but the jumps itself is what ruins the map. You think I'm joking when I say the jumps on this map are bad? Look at this! It has a lot of potential, it really does, and I like the look that they gave it in Nitro Field, but overall, it's going to take the number 32 spot. Now we're going to start getting to some better tracks. We're kind of out of the bottom of the barrel type tracks. At number 31, we have Slide Coliseum, and I know some people are going to say, are we actually out of the bottom of the barrel tracks? I'll be honest, this track aged well. It really has, and I know it's still at number 31, but considering it was considered one of the worst tracks since, I don't know, 1999, I'd say coming up to the number 31 spot isn't too bad for Slide. The track isn't really good, but it's definitely better than at least some of the tracks in the game. One of the complaints I hear about this track all the time is that there's no turbo pads, it's just way too slow, which I definitely understand that, it's a slow track and it's just how it works. But at the same time, there's no track like Slide. There's not a single other track in the game that is as slow-paced as Slide, and I think it just kind of works differently, I guess. With the way that you play Slide, you have to rely on boost jumps and solely off of power sliding, and it's just kind of interesting to race, I guess. The visuals on this track, by the way, are probably the best in the game, in my opinion. Yeah, I know it's a hot take, but honestly, I don't care. I really do think it is. Also, if you've never played Slide Coliseum Ring Rally, I'm here to tell you, it's one of the top ring rallies in the game. Another thing I'll give it is, it's definitely better than the original Slide Coliseum, but other than that, I think Slide just kind of sits here and just has to deal with it, but it's better than being at the bottom of the barrel. This one might cause some issues. Yeah, I have Hyper Spaceway at number 30 on the list. Hyper's all the way down here because Beanox decided to get really lazy with this track. For those of you who do not know, Hyper Spaceway was originally on Crash Nitro Kart, and it was not only one of the best tracks in that game, but it's arguably the greatest Crash Bandicoot racing track ever made. The track was filled with a gigantic amount of areas. We had never seen anything like the original Hyper Spaceway. It was an absolute blast to play. Everything from the track music to the theme of the track being in that Coliseum in space, to the way it was presented as the final boss track, it was great. It was fantastic. This version of Hyper Spaceway literally takes out half of the track, if not more, for absolutely zero reason. Yeah, I know they had to deal with the anti-grav, but there was way better ways to go about it, and I just think they got really lazy, just like they did with Out of Time, and I felt like they just ran out of time. Whenever I first got CTR-NF and I played Hyper Spaceway, I was like,
the hell is that?
So what else is bad about this track? Well, it's almost unplayable online due to the laggy lasers, the item placement behind portals, the constant collisions, and the fact that the roads are way too skinny. The best and only decent mode for this track is Time Trial. Other than that, don't play Hyper Spaceway. At number 29, we have Coco Park. Coco Park is a pretty simple track for the most part. It's got wide roads, so it's easy for newer players to learn power sliding on this track. It does have a few weird glitches, which I don't quite understand for a track that's simple. This track also has a couple of grass cuts, which although I do hate grass cuts in Nitro Field, I will say if there's going to be a track with grass cuts, I like the grass cuts to be how they are in Coco Park because they're nice and short and simple. I don't really have much to say about Coco Park because it's just kind of, well, simple, I guess. The track just doesn't have anything spectacular to offer in terms of just anything unique for players. The only thing I would do for a recommendation on Coco Park is for newer players to learn how to power slide on Coco Park. Other than that, I can't really say anything about Coco Park. Alrighty, this one's going to be a little bit interesting. So at number 28 and number 27, we're actually going to be talking about two tracks. I'm doing this because both these tracks are similar, so let's just get into it. Crash Cove and Inferno Island. This is what we're going to be talking about. So I'm going to compare the two and see which one goes where, because for this, they're very similar tracks to the point where I feel like it's necessary to do this. I'm going to look at all the modes, and then I'm going to talk about how good and bad the tracks are in terms of each mode and just overall how the track feels and how it goes. I think both tracks have bad walls, but I think Inferno poles are worse than Cove walls, so Cove gets the point there. Inferno overall feels a little bit smoother, so we'll give it a point there. When it comes to time trial, I think both tracks are about the same in terms of overall good and bad, so I guess we'll just call that a tie. I think Inferno is better for items, but I think Crash Cove is better for itemless. Inferno has the better ring rally, but I think Cove has a better relic race. It's really close, honestly, for this. It's basically a tie, and honestly, I can see why you would put one above the other, regardless of which one it is. I can see it going either way, really. I really can. But for this list, I think I'm going to give the number 28 spot to Inferno Island, and I think I'm going to give the number 27 spot to Crash Cove. And the primary reason for this is I think Crash Cove just has the edge because it's the original track, and I think Inferno Island took a lot of what Cove did and just tried to make it its own track. So I feel like because it just copied way too much, I kind of have to put Cove ahead of it. But if I'm being honest, I think I probably prefer to play Inferno over Cove, but that's just my opinion, and I know everyone has their own opinions about these two tracks, and I've heard it about 50-50 throughout the community, honestly. So just for final clarification, number 28 is Inferno Island, and number 27 is Crash Cove. Sticking with short and simple tracks, we'll move to number 26, which is Jungle Boogie. Now with Jungle Boogie, this was one of the better tracks from C&K. The track was really well fit for the first boss fight in Terra, and when it was moved to this game, I was very excited for it, but unfortunately, it just feels way too small, especially for online. Like, whenever I'm playing this track, I feel like I'm playing a freaking Hot Wheels track because of how tight it is and how skinny the roads are, especially when everyone's trying to take the shortcuts. You're going to find a lot of collisions happening, and if you're playing with items, you're going to find a lot of nitro crates and potions on those shortcuts. The track just doesn't seem very well made. Like I said, it's just way too small. I thought it could have been better and they'd put more time into it, but it does have good potential, and that's why it's at number 26. At number 25, we have Sewer Speedway. Yeah, so it's safe to say that this sewer isn't as good as the original CTR by a long shot. I actually went and played the original Crash Team Racing on the PlayStation the other day, and I kid you not, Sewer Speedway on the original might be the best track in that game. It is that good. But Sewer in this game? Ew! Dude! What the? It is a completely different story. The whole track is nowhere near as smooth as the original. It's slower, the barrels are way worse with their hitboxes.
No! Wait a minute!
I'm dead serious. Look at this. That's a hit? What? Sometimes they just hit you for some weird reason. The jumps are more inconsistent on this sewer. The barrels are way worse on this sewer. On the original, they were not bad at all. The whole track in general is just a massive downgrade from its original. It's just got such a clunky feel to it, and it just isn't pleasant to play sometimes. Sewer is undoubtedly one of the more unique tracks in the game, and that's part of the reason why it's up here at number 25 and not in the 30s. I just wish they put more time and effort into making this track smoother. If they're able to do it in 1999, they should be able to do it in 2019 on a way newer console. I'm just glad that this track was fixed to some extent whenever this game was released. Because whenever this game came out, this track arguably was the worst track in the game. That's how broken it was. That's all I can say about Sewer, though. It really just, it's just disappointing, really. At number 24, we have Spyro Circuit. So now that I put Spyro on the list, I can compare this with Hyper Spaceway, since those are the two Portal tracks. So let me explain why I put Spyro ahead of Hyper Spaceway. The effort put into making a Spyro-type map is shown very well in Spyro Circuit, giving players gems instead of Wumpa Fruit, Sparks masks. It just... nice little touches that I really like because it shows that they actually cared about this map. Showing off a little bit of everything from Spyro's world really gives players that didn't play Spyro a good idea of how Spyro was and his adventures, really. I'm glad that they decided not to make this a Blue Fire map. The map just, it wasn't built for Blue Fire, and I'm just glad that they kept with the Sacred Fire, honestly. Although Spyro Circuit, it does suffer from the item placement behind portals, which, God, I freaking hate it. I know some people still will prefer Hyper Spaceway, and I totally understand that, but I think if we're looking at this objectively, I think Spyro takes the cake between the two, really. Even though, honestly, I probably prefer to play, like, Hyper Spaceway Time Trial over Spyro Circuit Time Trial, but Spyro's the better track. It just is. At number 23, we are going to get into Megamix Mania. So, I know there's a mixed opinion on this track, and I'm kind of mixed on it myself, but hear me out. It's a decent track, but I think it gets held back by a few things that make it not a top 15 track, or even top 10 track. Number one, and this is the biggest issue, obviously, the paint bombs. It's one thing to have a few paint bombs here and there. Like, there are some tracks that have like a couple of hazards, not too many, but they're littered all over the freaking place. In online lobbies, these things are an absolute abomination and easily one of the worst parts of the map. Actually, not one of it literally is the worst part of the map. Second, the walls. They make zero sense. Well, some of them are okay. Most of the walls on Megamix Mania are just dumb. They definitely need more work, that's for sure. Now that that's out of the way, let's talk about some of the good parts of Megamix. The track layout, for the most part, is nice. I really like it, honestly. Giving players early Sacred Fire and early Blue Fire, along with some nice shortcuts to take. I think this track has one of the most perfect themes to it as well. The music, it literally could not fit any better for a Crash Bandicoot apocalyptic world. It just couldn't, really. I'm not into like heavy metal or anything like that, but when you take Crash Bandicoot and you take whatever the balls Megamix Mania is, apocalyptic, futuristic, deserty, it just fits well, really. They did a good job with this track. I think they could have done better had they just fixed some of the paint lines and, you know, honestly, take some of them out. This track probably moves up 4 or 5 spots just from that. I really want to put Megamix Mania higher, but due to the issues that I stated earlier, it's got to stay here. Number 22 is Barin Ruins. I know there's a lot of mixed feelings about this track, so I feel like some will say it's too low or some others will say it's too high. Barin Ruins is an average track. It's got a nice and simple layout, and it would be a mostly relaxing track if it wasn't for the terrible eyes of cancer walls rolled by hitboxes that are literally worse than oh, and this. Whoever made this needs to go eat a tortilla chip vertically. Overall, Barin is okay. It's just kind of a plain track, I guess. There's a few spots here and there that I like about Barin, and then everything else is just kind of bland, I guess. With all that, I don't have a problem with putting it at the number 22 spot. I just feel like they could have done more with this track, and there's some flaws that could be easily fixed to make it higher. Honestly, numbers like 23 through number 10, you could literally flip around all of those and make an argument for each of those at a specific spot, but this was the toughest part of making this, honestly. Number 21 is Clockwork Wumpa. Clockwork is a solid track, and I like the challenge to it. It's got a cool feel, and the look of it, I think they did such a great job with in Nitro Fueled. I would like to rank this track higher, but unfortunately, the track sucks online. It just does. Say it with me. The roads are too skinny. This track isn't built for good quality online play. It's a good time trial track, I'll give it that. I have a lot of fun time trialing the track, but every time I play this online, someone complains about something online. It's just bad. And don't get me started with those freaking cogs, in the words of Wolfy Playz. I was about as close to that cog as I was to getting laid when I was 16. The cog hitboxes are absolute bleh. Number 20 is Ruse Tubes. It's a great track for newer players to practice on. Other than that, though, it's just kind of meh. It's an alright track, and it's short and sweet, and it's kind of comfortable to play, I guess. It's just a weird one, Ruse Tubes is. Personally, I like Ruse. Like, I really do. But ever since launch, Ruse has always had some type of issue, and it only gets worse. Like, I would love to say that this track still isn't broken and that they fixed it, but yeah, you get the point. Ruse is at 20, and I honestly think that's about as fair as it's gonna get. At number 19, we have Assembly Lane. Let's start with the good of Assembly. So, Assembly is a solid track overall. It allows players to take multiple shortcuts, practice small mud cuts, and improve their balance of keeping reserves and going fast. The roads are very wide, which makes it easier to play online, and overall, I think that's why Assembly is up here above some of the others, is overall online, I think you can play it with more ease. I believe items is probably the best way to go about Assembly Lane, personally. If you want to know my personal opinion on it, I actually don't care for Assembly Lane. I think it's a boring track, and I just don't really care for it. I just don't really have fun on it. It's probably one of the most boring tracks in the game. Not one of the worst, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. I like having multiple shortcuts, but literally all the shortcuts, in my opinion, are not very good. The first one's just too easy to get foot stalled on. The conveyor belt plunger hitboxes are freaking ridiculous. And the final cut, it's just kind of too simple. I mean, there's almost no reason to add that final shortcut, which it wasn't in the original. They added it, Beanox did. Also, this is my least favorite track on the original Crash Nitro Kart by a country mile. Beanox did a good job improving it in Nitro Fueled. Oh wow, did I actually compliment Beanox? It's an alright track, and it deserves its placement 100%, it does. At number 18, we have a weird one. This was the hardest placement on the entire list, because there are some great things about this track, and some really bad things too. I'm not going to waste any more of your time. It's Papu's Pyramid. Papu's Pyramid is interesting, to say the least. I would say the layout is very unique, and the presentation of this track is remarkable, making this track unlike any other in the game. But this track is just not good for fast-paced racing. It really isn't. The track is built to just kind of mess around on while racing. It's for an arcade racer, which that's kind of what CTR really is, and so if you're trying to play it kind of sweaty, I guess, then it's not very good for that. Doing things like 7 laps and spamming at each other, it's a lot of fun, and I think that's what Papu's is built for, in my opinion. This track and time trial, let's just say that me and a few others have been calling it Crapu's Pyramid lately. I don't know. It's just a tough one to rank. There's no track like Papu's. Like, if we're talking original Papu's, we'd be talking about arguably the best track in the game, and honestly, that's got my vote for it in the original CTR. And the original just ran just 100% way more smooth than... Oh my goodness, Porcina straight into the Wizards. The track just doesn't nearly... the track just doesn't really run nearly as smooth as... It just doesn't run as smooth as... It just doesn't run as smooth as... Cancer! I can't say the word smooth. I really can't. The track doesn't... Look, all you need to know is the track doesn't run smooth. The grass cut sucks a lot. And I don't know. Let's just move on. At 17, we have a track that doesn't really get talked about enough in the original CTR. Mystery Caves. Just take the fireballs out. Like, literally that's it. Please. The shortcut sucks too, but I can deal with that, honestly. The track is well made overall, and I think the pacing of it is very good. Mystery feels pretty nice to play with just about any mode in the game. The turtles are a bit weird in this. The original turtles would simply just boost you. These ones, they just kind of send you in the air, and sometimes they slow you down, which is kind of unfortunate because it kind of messes up the track a little bit, and sometimes messes with the flow. Overall, it's a decent track. There's not enough bad things about this track to put it any lower. I think 17's a good spot for it overall. At 16, we have Tiny Arena. Okay, so I kind of feel bad I've been bashing the newer tracks in this game because I feel like most of the originals were better, but I can say with full confidence, Tiny Arena is a million times better in this game than it was in the original. The best way I can describe this track is, well, it just feels alive in this game. Like, it feels like there's an actual crowd watching the race, legitimately. The track speed is perfect, and time trial on this track can be kind of addictive at times. Unfortunately, there are some bad sides to this track. The track itself doesn't change too much other than the occasional quick turn, as almost the entire map looks exactly the same. There are no shortcuts, no extra options of strategy, you just drive. Which I can understand that all tracks won't be that way, but this track definitely could have benefited from at least having one shortcut that's so long. Also, don't even get me started on the freaking ring rally or relic race of this track, and if you haven't tried it either, I highly recommend you do not. Overall, I'm happy with how Tiny Arena turned out. It's been a nice part of Nitro Field, and I do have a nice time playing it. Oh boy. We got another weird one coming in. At number 15, you've been thunderstruck. Okay, let's get this started quick because I know some people are going to disagree with this one 100%. Hear me out. Thunderstruck is notorious for being an absolute mess in Nitro Field with all the glitches that have come from it, and people are still able to do glitches on this track to this day, but the track is unbelievably fun. The track potential is insane, and it's not placed at 15 because it's bad. It's placed here because the glitches hold it back from being in the top 10. I know some people are going to ask if I'm mentally okay with saying what I'm saying, because I know some people freaking hate this track. Look, I get it. The spinning spiky spinners, they have bad hitboxes, and they're not good for the track. The glitches are bad. That's literally it, though. I was looking for bad things to say about this track in this video. I can't think of that many, other than what I've already said. The walls are good, the speed is fantastic, it's a blast to play. It deserves a spot. It feels like you're just playing on a giant roller coaster. That's the best way I can describe it. Oh, and the freaking music to this track. Thunder definitely has a few flaws, but I think it makes up for those flaws, and I truly believe this is one of the better tracks in the game. Well, boys, we've done it. We've stopped Oxide from turning the planet into a big fat... Oxide Station has been a favorite of many ever since the days of the original CTR. I do like the track as well, but there are a few issues with it, and it holds it back from being in the top 10. Hear me out. The walls are very inconsistent all across the track. It doesn't matter where you're going, and the out-of-bounds sections on the map are very questionable as well. Also, this track is a bit dodgy for online, so there's that too. Great for time trials, though. Highly recommend it there. Visually speaking, they did a perfect job putting Oxide Station in the Nitro Field. I'll cut them some slack on the issues, though, honestly. They did a really good job putting us in the Nitro Field, or at least they did a good enough job to at least have Oxide at the number 14 spot.
Welcome to Toxic Burger. Can I take your order?
Alrighty, where do I start here? Drive-Thru Danger is the number 13 spot. And I had to keep asking myself this: does this track deserve the number 13 spot? It was a tough call in the end, but I had to put this above Oxide. Even though I do personally prefer Oxide, Drive-Thru Danger just has the edge. Drive-Thru Danger is one of the best looking tracks in this game, and the overall small bits outside of this track are freaking incredible. Beanox knew this was their last track, and they definitely wanted to go out with a bang. While racing this track is alright, the strongest parts of Drive-Thru is literally everything else. The music is the best soundtrack in the game, 100%. The Toxic Burger Drive-Thru worker is absolutely hilarious. The creativity and overall Gasmoxia feel fantastic. There's just so much going on in this track. It's insane. The track is still fun though, although the roads are very skinny. And the track might be one of the most difficult tracks in the game, but it's still great. I don't recommend this track for newer players because it's just way too difficult. It's not built for beginners. Although I don't think it's the best Grand Prix track that they've come out with, I do believe it's the best launch of any Grand Prix track. Literally, people were just going nuts day one on this track with time trial. Online could be better for sure, but I'd be lying if I said this track doesn't deserve positive feedback, because it honestly is great. At number 12, we have Fidget Spinner Speedway, as I like to call it. It's deep sea driving, people. I'm very curious, do more people love this track or hate this track? Everyone I talk to is either on the side of love or hate. I rarely talk to someone who's just like, deep sea driving is an alright track. It's like an average track, bro. Like, it's either some sweat who time trials the track for 10 hours a day who says it's the best track in the game, or some dude who can't go 3 seconds without cussing about the blades on the track. So, where do I stand with deep sea driving? I do believe it's a good track. It's not perfect, definitely isn't. Yes, the blades can be annoying, but for those who keep saying, take out the blades, no. This track would be way too easy if they took out the blades. For this, I'm going to be talking about the original Deep Sea Driving and comparing it to the one in Nitro Fueled. The original Deep Sea Driving in Crash Nitro Kart was a better track overall, but the biggest difference? The pacing. When you make Deep Sea Driving the fastest track in the game, it's going to be difficult to avoid getting a smack, but the original Deep Sea Driving was perfectly paced, so that wherever you went, and however fast you went, you knew where the blades were going, regardless if you were going top speed or not. It was just overall easier to avoid them on the original, and that's why the blades weren't a problem then. They were a nice challenge, but it wasn't anything too annoying. Don't get me wrong, DSD in this game is still good, but I do believe that they should have made the track a little bit slower, even though I do love the speed. That way there could have been a little bit less problems with the fidget spinners. It's still a heck of a wild track to play, and you could still have a blast playing it, but unfortunately it just misses the top 10. 12 is still good though. Okay, bear with me. I don't agree with this either, but I'd be wrong if I said this wasn't a fantastic track. Let the chaos begin. Turbo track is the number 11 spot on this list. And I gotta be honest, I can't think of an argument against it. Constant speed, the challenging U-turn, it's another track for advanced players that it's just really good overall in all the modes. A lot of people hate on this track because it's just very challenging, and that S-turn is what people hate the most, but once you get that down, for the most part, you should be fine. The track overall is very well made. I do not recommend that beginners play this track. I just don't think it's built properly for them. Unless you're able to U-turn consistently, I'd stay away from this track. Turbo has always been a blast to play online with, regardless of the mode you play, and it's good for time trials too. There's not hardly any major flaws I can complain about in this track. It's just pure fast-paced fun. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the top 10. It is with great pleasure that we start off the top 10 with a track that I believe has influenced the community a great amount. A track that many have enjoyed. Ladies and gentlemen, number 10, Tiny Temple. Now, although Tiny Temple may not be as good as some of the other tracks in the game, I believe fully that this track has had a massive influence on the community in such a way that it just had to make the top 10. I like Tiny Temple, but honestly, it's not my top 10. Honestly, it may not even be my top 15. But this track has helped many players learn and improve at the game so much that I felt it would be the right thing to do to have it here on this list. I understand if you disagree, 100% I do. But it's a blast to play on, and it's absolutely perfect to practice on. So, in the end, I think it deserves the number 10 spot. At number 9, we have Prehistoric Playground. I just want to start off by saying thank you, Beanox, for fixing this track in that final update. This track used to have so many issues when it came out. Had they never fixed any of it, we would have already went through the track by now. It probably would have been somewhere around the probably 16, 17, maybe 18 range. But they fixed it, and it's a great track. The theme, great. It's comfortable to play on, it's fast-paced, and it's challenging. It's a well-balanced track overall. It's good for everything. Every mode, it's good. There isn't much bad I can say about the track, and that's why it's at the number 9 spot. At number 8, we have Twilight Tour, which I have to say was an almost perfect way to start the Grand Prix cycle. Really, it was simply just beautifully designed. The track was perfect for the first Grand Prix. The theming was great. Having both a night area in the desert along with a daytime area in 2 different soundtracks, it's something that we just hadn't seen before. It was interesting, but it was a good type of interesting and a good type of different and a nice change overall that I really enjoyed. The only bad thing I can really say about Twilight is the walls kind of suck, but that's literally it. I can't think of anything else about this track that's bad. I think overall, they did a couple things differently with Twilight. They put their own twist on Twilight, and I really enjoyed it. I think they did good with it, so props to Beanox for this one. As good as Twilight Tour is, I don't believe it's the best Grand Prix track in the game. It used to be my favorite, and it still might be, but I think, objectively speaking, the title of Best Grand Prix Track in this game goes to the number 7 spot on this list, Gingerbread Joyride. Never did I think you could have a relaxing, fast-paced track like Gingerbread Joyride. It's got everything you want, fast-paced, it's challenging, but relaxing at the same time, surprisingly. Great theming, it absolutely nailed the Christmas theme perfectly. And the jellies, they're not that bad. Honestly, they really aren't. Gingerbread seemed to start off kind of slow with the community. In the past year or so, they seem to kind of start liking the track a lot more. And I can see why. It's a great track. Deserves a spot 100%. Also, ring rallying this track, great. I can approve. Cortex Castle is the number 6 spot. The Nitro Field one, not that freaking nightmare cancer. It gets stupid Crash 4 stuff. Get that out of here. Sorry to the non-super experienced player base, but this track isn't exactly built for you guys. This is for all the MLG tryhards trying to have their penis measuring contests. You thought that was rain? Nah, that's the sweat of the players who grind this track for hours and hours. Nah, seriously though, Cortex is just fun. Honestly, I actually prefer the Nitro Field version, just for the extra speed, really. Cortex is just a great track regardless of the mode you play. I can guarantee you, you're going to have a blast no matter what you do. I love the feel of Cortex too. Overall, the track just feels great. Heading into the top 5, at number 5, Polar Pass. I absolutely love this track, and you can't get much better than that. Or at least, well, there's other than the 4 spots that are above it. Polar Pass has been a very positive track for the community overall. Not only in Nitro Field, but also the original. Seal hitboxes are kind of weird, but you can easily dodge the seals in this map. I love the way you can cut through the track and risk it, honestly. It makes the track more interesting. As we say online, go big or go home. Take the big boy cut or you're a twat. God, I can't say it freaking right because I'm not English. Polar is just a great track for honestly everything, really. Nothing better than a good old-fashioned race on Polar. Well, other than a good old-fashioned race on the other 4 tracks that remain. Anyways, Polar's good, and that's the number 5 spot. At the number 4 spot, we have Android Alley. I have a soft spot for Android, I'm not going to lie. Specifically for the original Android, but I also love this new Android Alley. I think it's about on par with each other. I think both tracks are very interesting, yet they're both slightly different from each other, like the fact that one's at daytime and one's at nighttime. There's not really any flaws with Android, well, other than the train, of course. The map, in my opinion, is probably the smoothest track at Nitro Fuel. Honestly, it probably is. I don't think there's a track smoother than Android, really. It's great no matter what you play. It just feels so good to play, and it's good for every mode, really. And that's why it's at the number 4 spot.
Sup goofballs, it's Pinstripe here. Come to announce that the number 3 spot on this list is my domain, Hot Air Skyway. This track has everything you want. We got the best view of any other track. Well, you like speed? Well, we've got so many turbo pads on this track, you can't go any faster unless you use some goofy looking blue hedgehog. The speed'll help you with the giant jumps you need to take. Unless you use a wuss, or unless you uses like this idiot who keeps falling to his death. My track is actually the best track in the game, so you should petition this dumb easy penis 40 fella to change it to number 1. If yous don't, I'm gonna shove this Tommy gun up your ass. But I'll give him credits for at least top 3. Otherwise I'd have to murder him myself. Back to the list now. Oh, brother.
Yep. Engine Laboratories. Honestly, I don't think this was a surprise to anyone that it'd be this high on the list. It's a complete masterpiece from start to finish, giving all players of all types a good reason to play it. I rarely ever hear someone complain about Engine Labs or talk negatively about the track, as it's still a fan favorite from 1999. I still don't know which version is better between this and the original, but I'm gonna be honest, I don't really care. They're both freaking fantastic, and I am very happy with this version of Engine Labs. And at the top spot, we have a track that looks futuristic, has neon lights, blue fire, a big starting jump. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Koala Carnival. Okay, let's try that again, shall we? Yeah, Electron Avenue is the best track in the Nitro Field. It's simply got everything you want in a track. It's fast-paced, and the races are so intense. I know I'm not the only one who agrees with this. I've seen other people place it at their top spot as well. Beanux, I know I've been kind of mean this video, and part of it's honestly just kind of joking. It's stuff like this that makes me want another Crash Racing game. If you guys can keep putting out tracks like this, man, I'll be so in for the future of Crash Racing games. What's crazy is I love Electron Avenue on the original C and K, and whenever I was getting Nitro Fueled, my expectations for it were pretty high, and it still exceeded my expectations. Beautifully done. Honestly, I couldn't be much happier. Alright, that took forever. So, now that the video's done, let's go over a few things. First off, thank you for watching. This is a really long video, I know, and it took forever to make, but I'm so happy that you guys were able to tune in and stick through it all. I want to give credit to Bakon CTR for his Ruse Tubes gameplay, and I also want to give credit to Wolfy Playz for his voice acting on Pinstripe. If you want to see more stuff like this, then shoot a comment down below. Tell me what you want to see. I'm kind of interested to see what you guys are interested in, because I might do more rankings on CTR stuff, or I don't know. Just shoot a comment. We'll see. For Chill Zone players, I am here to make the official announcement that Season 12 is confirmed, and it is currently under works. And you will be hearing more info on it very, very soon. For those who are not in the Chill Zone or are not aware of it, it's a Discord server for all Crash Team Racing Nitro Fuel players to participate in bonus activities, tournaments, mini games. We got all sorts of stuff. So if you want to check it out, feel free to comment down below and ask about it. Or if you want to join the Discord, we have a link that'll probably be in the comments pinned, so you can check it out from there. Other than that, I don't think there's anything else I need to go over, but hope you enjoyed the list, hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys later.